pledge allegiance with us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I gotta read a statement here. If there's anybody from the public that wants to make a comment to the board, they will need to go over to the table on the side there and read the script and fill out the form and make public comment. At the end, we will reserve about 30 minutes for comments, but if you'll only get 3 to speak on your topic. The board will not respond unless the chair allows it. Okay, everybody looked over the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I see that.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next up is introduce new hires.
I am very happy to introduce Donna Fitzpatrick, who's just joined our staff yesterday as a payroll and benefits specialist. So she'll be working with Kelly Fisher, and we're very excited to have her. And she came back for day 2, so we're even more excited about that. So
Welcome, Donna.
anyway, so
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
no problem.
Thanks, Donna.
What's your background?
I was HR generalist in Louisville at a Ash Grove cement plant.
Okay,
And prior to that, I worked in housing, the housing authority for 32 years.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Okay, got a good team over there.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Bethany Wilcoxon, Senior Advisor, McClure, update on progress in Mendon.
Yep, she's gonna be online, so I'm gonna try to get her a microphone.
Okay, good. Thanks for coming in, Donna.
Thank you.
Good morning.
How are you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I apologize for not being able to make it over. Travel did not go as expected for my husband yesterday. So glad to be able to join remotely. Just wanted to get you a quick update as we do each quarter on the Minden work. Of course, everything continues to move forward. Big picture, to date, we've secured just shy of $3.7 million in grant funding, where we believe there's about $2.5 million in match, probably on the conservative side. Some of these, we don't have exact numbers. So that brings the total into the community at about $6.2 million to date. We, of course, continue to look for additional funding, or have already submitted for additional funding, totaling $5.6 million. So altogether, we're looking at about $12.1 million into Minden, either secured or on the horizon that we are going to be pursuing in the coming months. Part of that, of course, comes from the U.S. Economic Development Administration, shared information about them in the past. This is for water distribution system improvements along with a new well. We do expect that this application will go to Secretary Lutnick in the next couple of months. This is a new approach for EDA. In the past, it was more of a staff process, but everything is now going to the Secretary in tranches. So we do expect that will be moving forward. Total project cost, a little bit higher than we talked about in the past, just due to inflation, little over $1.4 million with EDA, hopefully covering about 80% of that, around $1.1 million, leaving a local match of $282,000. And do want to reiterate our gratitude for the county's support for the Rural Potawatomi County Infrastructure Collaborative a couple of years ago. This was something that Minden was one of the communities to receive those dollars. Obviously, the tornado changed everything a little bit, but still able to leverage that money as part of that local match, around $55,000 there. So thank you again for that past support. We are also looking into a state program, the wastewater and drinking water treatment financial assistance program. We've had some luck with that in the past. So we're looking at up to $500,000. We're trying to explore if Minden is actually eligible or not. It was not previously considered a disadvantaged community. So trying to determine if the tornado, of course, changed that perspective. We should know early January from that piece. Talked about Habitat for Humanity. Ground was broken in October. If you've been out to the community, hopefully you've seen the progress happening on that front. And then New Urban Renewal District for the TIF purposes was officially established at the council's November meeting. And so then first project out of the gates there will be on the North 40, refining that development concept. And then the idea is that we'll be able to apply for CDBG funding for the infrastructure in the coming year. Also in the coming year, you of course all are very familiar with the Tamarack Avenue work, but that is going to be another big piece for Minden, just really refreshing the look with everything else that's happening there. That's going to be a really nice compliment. So again, on behalf of the community, thank you for that support. And then finally, jumping to outdoor recreation and quality of life. A couple big pieces that we've talked about in the past, Kaler Park, with the support of Mid-American's Trees Please program. The McClure team and some community members were able to plant over 4 dozen trees at the park. So this park looks very, very different already with additional plans coming forward. And then we are also working through an IDALS application process for some stormwater management efforts with a bioswale through their water quality initiative program. And then the community recreation hub, we have that MOU between the city and the community club moving forward there. And then of course, a happy benefit of this work with Community Recreation Hub has been that opportunity to look at the Great American Rail Trail, partnering with conservation, with the Trails Association, with others. So $500,000 secured through the State Recreational Trails Program for that segment from Weston to Underwood, and then a couple other opportunities forthcoming with State Transportation Alternatives Program, and then the Rural and Tribal Assistance Pilot Program, which is a federal program. That would be for some additional planning. And of course, the Weston to Underwood segment, obviously not Minden, but we know that funders don't like to just fund segments that don't connect to anything. So really laying the groundwork for those additional segments through Minden and beyond. So hopefully those additional funds come through so that work is able to move forward. So any questions on all of those before I jump into those last couple sheets on your handouts?
So Bethany, those 3 grants that you just talked about, did McClure
Yes.
submit those?
We did submit the State Recreational Trails and the TAP grant. The Rural and Tribal Assistance Pilot Program was submitted by MAPPA. And of course, we've been in deep conversation with Jeff and the conservation team on all of those pieces. Supervisor Miller, you asked the last presentation to calculate hours that we had spent on all of the Minden work. Conservative estimate to date is around 1,100 hours.
Thank you.
You bet. And I'll just explain these other 2 handouts that you all have. The spider web one is just to look at all of the different funding sources that we've pursued or have on the radar, and just to really illustrate all of the different pieces that we're working to tap into, public, private, from the local level, state, regional, federal. Really trying to be creative and just make sure we can tap into any possible resources that would be of benefit to the community. And then the other sheet is our current concept for the Community Recreation Hub, with an additional Little League field added in, bumping the community club up to the roadway, playground, amenities to support the trail as well. So really trying to, again, think bigger, use this as an opportunity to go beyond what was in the community prior to the tornado.
So it sounds like everything is proceeding along. Are there any roadblocks? Is there any
Um, No, we just continue to steadily take on all of this work as it comes. Those different pieces are moving forward as they can. And it's had the businesses called out on that a funding chart. And that work, we've gotten a lot of those businesses back to where they were. And so that has become less of the focus. And it's really these larger projects. We wish we could make them go faster, but the funding system is what it is. The government shutdown slowed the EDA review. We were literally on the phone with EDA staff an hour or two before the government shutdown. Because it is an emergency program, we were able to talk to a rotating staff member throughout the course of those weeks. So that slowed things down a bit. I know our primary contact there said this usually doesn't take this long. Usually, it's a 6-month process. We're coming up on a year since we submitted. But that's what it is, and I think as we've seen throughout this whole process, just that persistence and the resilience that I always mention of the residents really continue to drive this work forward.
Do I understand there's a problem with power to some of these new built structures? Is that an issue right now?
I have not been made aware of that, but I can check with Teresa.
Oh, you're talking about the townhomes?
Okay, is that what it is?
Yes, they're waiting on Mid-America to connect the power
Yeah.
to the townhomes. Are you aware of that, Bethany?
Had not heard that.
They can't be sold until.
I'll follow up with Teresa.
From what I understand, there's like a process that takes about 8 weeks to get approved and then another 8 to 10 weeks to get it hooked up. So, and it's not just that place. It's all over Iowa right now. Bethany, are you involved in the community club building?
We are. Yeah, so we're trying to figure out how that all looks. I know we've put the locals in touch with some architects that may be of interest, just to figure out what that sort of looks like.
Okay, and then were you involved in that brick building possibly being saved?
Which brick build? The one just to the east?
Yes. Sounds
we
like
had
they're
some
trying to
conversations
save
about that.
that for the community.
Yes. Yes.
That'll be neat. Okay. When do you think the park area, are you involved in that also?
With the Taylor Park or with the
The
park at the Little
Little
League
League
Fields?
Fields?
It's really dependent on funding.
Okay,
Tracy Wilheater and I are connecting with Donna Dostal here fairly soon.
okay,
So figuring out what that all looks like. We do have some other funding opportunities, looking at the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is due in March. And then we also have our eye on Destination Iowa and CAT grant funding for the Community Recreation Hub. Actually was able to present to the Iowa Economic Development Authority Board a week and a half ago, just as a thank you for their support of Minden to date, and mentioned that. And Director Durham seemed very intrigued by that prospect. Minden, of course, has never applied for either of those programs before.
okay. Anybody else got any questions? Is that it, Bethany?
That's it.
Well, we appreciate keeping us updated. Thank you.
Likewise. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Take
Bethany.
care. It's always nice to start out with something very positive. Okay, Brandy Waller, Council Bluffs Site Director, New Visions Homeless Services. presentation on New Vision's Community Christmas event. Brandy, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. So, yeah, I'm filling in for Stephanie Waller. So she's my site director at New Visions. Most of you guys know me that I started working there about 22 years ago, and I met the founder's oldest son and thought he was pretty handsome. So when I tell people I met my husband at a homeless shelter, they'd have a lot of questions or none at all. And then Stephanie started about 12 years ago, and she married the youngest son, and then none of them worked there, and our marriages are so much better. So, but I am here to talk about New Vision Homeless Services. A lot of times when you think about New Visions, people just kind of pigeonhole onto our shelter. I know our shelter has had a lot of conversations about it this year during the electoral season. I think a lot of those were not true. I think that, you know, our communities, like a lot of communities, that there's 19,000 people entering into homelessness every single week in the United States for the first time right now. And it's because of affordable housing. You know, when there's just not housing, people have to go somewhere. Actually, board member Susan came and visited at the beginning of the year, because at the end of last year, I kind of went to the leaders of Council Bluffs and I said, I'm in over my head. My shelter was built for 48 men at one meal site, and now we have 300 people that walk through our door every single day. So like I said, a lot of what was being said wasn't true. There is a percentage of people that just don't fit into societal norms. And so even the incidents we've had at our campus have all been outside of our campus because again, we need longer mental health stays, substance abuse, there's a lot of broken systems. But that is a program a lot of people know us about, but actually out of about the 15,000 people we serve, only about 800 come through our shelter program. And so just to highlight a couple of our other programs, and I'll talk about the Christmas and our prevention, is we do have street outreach. Last year, we made contact with about 800 people on the streets in Council Bluffs. Unfortunately, Heartland Family Services lost a street outreach grant where they had 6 street outreach members, and I only have 2. And we made contact with 800 people. So that was a day when we were talking about, you know, our shelter is like, our shelter is already full. Coming after us is not going to solve homeless for one people. But the good news is our street outreach team, the HOP team, we're doing some pretty amazing things in our community that is not being done all across the country. So we've got to speak about that at a national level. So we have street outreach, shelter, we have permanent supportive housing. So 26 people live on our campus. We have food security, and that's where we serve the most individuals. So about 12,000 people a year, we serve through it. We also help to support like the Minden Pantry, the Crescent Pantry, Care and Share. And so that's our biggest program. We do drive-through pantries every month. And then we also do the daily meal site. So we're actually the largest daily meal site in the state of Iowa. And so I'm very proud of that because a lot of it comes from support of the community. And then we also every night between Council Bluffs and Lincoln, there's about 120 veterans unfortunately experiencing homelessness. I have the largest veteran specific site right across the river in Omaha, and we serve 60 of them a night in that project. And we're building more permanent supportive housing for senior veterans. And so we do a lot and just not shelter. I always say there's nobody that wants our parks not to have humans sleeping in them more than I do, you know, but it's a community conversation. So I would love to invite you guys to kind of see some of those changes we've made throughout the year and stuff like that. But I'm here to talk about Christmas, and it is my favorite time of the year. So Christmas is part of our prevention program. We do help out when we have funding available for utilities, shut-off notices, eviction notices. Our biggest thing that we help out is to help people move out of homelessness. We pay the first month's rent deposit. We spend about $300,000 a year to do that through this program. And so we've been doing the community-wide celebration for 30 years since we started. We took over it from the rest of the community in 2011 as part, again, of our prevention program. I surveyed all the families that came that first year that we did it. There was about 500. I said, if we didn't have this program, number one, would you not provide Christmas for your kids? Number two, do you have the availability to save? Or number three, would you go to payday advance, borrow money, or neglect a bill? And 92% of parents said that they would neglect a bill, go to payday advance, or borrow money. So we do not want them to do that. We want them, it's much easier for me to go and raise money and get gifts for their child for Christmas than for them to get money to help pay their electricity and bills. So that's why the community comes together. And so we serve about 1,000 families throughout all of Western and Southwest Iowa, about 37 zip codes. And so on December 13th, we'll have our big event. It's at the Iowa Sportsplex. We have already capped out the event at 800 families because it takes a while to get over 3,500 people through the Sportsplex in the 9 hours that we're there. We do 2 different parts of the event. Number one, we do adopt a child, adopt a family, adopt a veteran. So those are the children that we know that mom and dad don't have an extra $50. So those are the ones we're getting from the school districts. Those are the ones we're getting from social workers, Children's Square, all of them we kind of work behind because we know their financial situation. So we adopt out a couple thousand kids through that. And then the second half go through our Toys for Tots. And so I get the most toys from Toys for Tots. So if you're ever curious of where those toys go, they do stay in the community. And how I ended up getting the most toys is if you feed the Marines, they like you. So I feed our Marines very, very well. And so what will happen on the day of the 13th is that families are invited to come. The best part about it is it's really the community that makes this happen. I was out shopping on Friday for teenage boy gifts. Our event does go to age 18. Salvation Army only goes to 16, Toys for Tots 14. So we're one of the very few. But nobody likes to shop for teenage boys. And I have a teenager, and the only thing he needs is a shower, really. So like, but I was out shopping, but I've probably seen over 100 people with their little carts out there shopping. It really shows the heart of our community is that we show up for each other and that we are here for each other. And throughout this whole election, it was awesome to see that because for every one negative thing that was said about me, I had 20 people saying, that's not true, Brandy, we've been down there. And so we'll invite the families to come. This is our big fundraiser of the year. We don't do a gala or anything like that because a lot of times you're $20,000, $30,000 in before you raise $1 for your cause. I am proud to say New Visions, 91 cents of every dollar goes straight to impact for our nonprofit. We have to do a single audit, which is not fun at all because we get federal dollars. But yeah, we are one of the highest rated where all the dollars that come in go straight back other than 9% administration. And then again, national average is 75%. And so we do sponsorships. So all the sponsorship dollars go straight back into our programming. And then when the families come, we have navigators, and it's really cool because there'll be about 400 volunteers that will be on site that day. And it's really an opportunity for people to connect to the community members. And so they see Santa. We have professional photographers there. One of my favorite things is kids get a shop for their parents. I'm a bride product. I think most of you guys have heard my testimony, but my mom had 4 kids by the time she was 20. I went to TJ. She was married when she was a teenager. My dad was older, and my dad just left one day, and he was nice enough to take the car when he left. And so I was raised in poverty, me and my siblings, but I'm proud to say we are not in poverty anymore. All 4 of us broke the back of poverty because we had schools, we had mentors, we had programs that came and helped us get out of it. Was the first one with a full ride scholarship to go to Iowa State. But my favorite Christmas ever was in 4th grade, and a teacher gave me $10 to buy my mom a gift for Christmas at the Traveling Bane. Everybody says Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year, but is it for everybody? For my veterans that have nowhere to go, it is not great. For the men that have no family to go to, or the parent that don't have enough money for the month, it's not always great. But when we're able to provide some hope, and so the kids get to pick out a gift for their parents. If you guys ever wonder where those unique name keychains go, they go to homeless shelters. And so a couple of years ago, we had a little kid, he must have been 5 or 6, and he was shopping for his mom, and he stopped and seen this blinged out keychain. He went, oh, my mom's gonna love that keychain. And I said, look at that. The heavens have a line. I said, buddy, is your mom's name Jacinda? He says, nope, it's Fran, but she's going to love it. And I said, sure is. Let's get her a scarf too. So that's a really cool thing. We give out books, Firefly comes. I mean, it is just a wonderful example of how the community comes, why the kiddos are picking out their gifts. Parents are able to go pick out games and wrapping paper. And then when they leave, we put all the gifts in black bags so the kids can't see in it. And we give parents wrapping paper for the dignity for them to be able to wrap. And then when they go to leave, there's a professional photographer. I only had one picture of my family growing up. And so it's cool to kind of have that professional photographer there. And then when they leave, Tyson actually donated 800 hams, and the Lincoln Foundation is helping us to make sure every family will have a holiday basket. And so just one quick story to show the need of our community is a dollar can only be spent in one place. And we all know that the dollar, and that's really what's causing homelessness right now, is that, you know, we have a 1.7% rental vacancy rate. 1 out of every 2 mom and pop landlords left during the pandemic because they weren't getting paid because of the rent moratorium. So corporations have now came in and went to bat against first-time home buyers. So now first-time home buyers are saturating the rental market. And now you have people that I serve that are on fixed income that might have housing choice vouchers, but why take it when you have 10 people waiting for that one apartment? And so the real vulnerable people are the ones going to the streets right now. And so that's why we've seen an increase in street level homelessness. But again, this is part of our hope. But 2 years ago, we're in the Iowa West Sportsplex, which is a huge blessing. But during COVID, we had 3 years where we were outside, and so having 1,000 families come, and we'd segmented like 100 families, 9 to 10:30, 10:30. But when you live in poverty, you live in silos of today. I always say it's chemical, not character. We've all had days where we didn't know how we're going to get through the day. And when that is your life day in and day out, it is hard for you to think above, and you live in a scarcity mindset. So even though these families were told to come at certain times, they all came super early because they didn't think they would get their gifts. Well, that caused a huge problem by 5 o'clock because the line was 2 hours long. It wrapped around we had them coming up 16th and wrap into 15th Street, so we weren't blocking the neighborhoods. But by 5 o'clock, it was about 2 hours long. And I don't know if any of you guys know Carol Horner, but there was babies in the car for 2 hours waiting to get gifts and hams and diapers. So I sent Carol out with food to go down the line, and she came back and she's like, Brandy, there is a mom and she's in a van and her tire is completely flat. She's on a rim. She doesn't have a spare tire. I don't think it's safe that she's on there. She's like, I don't know what to do. And so I went to this woman, and it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And a lot of times you are punished for being poor. You have higher interest rates. You can't get things that people with good credit have. And so she's has the steering wheel and she's staring straight ahead. And I looked at the ages of her kids later, but she had a 14-year-old girl and she's just absolutely embarrassed looking out the window, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I said, hi, I'm Brandy. I'm the CEO here. I want to help you out. She's like, I'm not getting out of line. You can't make me get out of line. I said, no, ma'am. I just want to help you. I said, you're still about a half an hour out. And I said, you're driving on gravel on a rim. I said, unfortunately, all the tire places are probably closed, but if you want to pull up and park your car, I'll get my van and we'll take you home. She's like, I'm not leaving my van here. It's the only van I own. You can't make me. And I said, okay, it's not, but this isn't, again, I'm not getting out of line. And I said, I understand. I said, well, how about this? I said, how about, she's like, I live a mile away. I just need to get home. I said, okay, how about this? How about I get your name and I'll get everything for you and I'll have my van, because my van literally had to pick people up because there were people walking in the cold with their families to get things. This is the state of some of our neighbors in our community. And it had families. I said, as soon as it's done, and I said, hey, I will go inside, get you my card and my number. If you don't make it, then give me a call and I personally will come. And then she just lost it. She's like, ma'am, I can't even afford a cell phone right now. She's like, my ex-husband's not paying child support. I'm trying to work so hard. And I said, well, I know that you're going to make sure your kids get Christmas. That's for sure. And she kind of giggled. And so I went inside to get a card and I knew I had some petty cash and I had some cash and I came back. I said, here's my card. And I said, here's $200 to fix your tire. And that first time that 14-year-old whipped her head up to me and she says, you're going to help my mom. Nobody helps my mom. And at that time, we had light up necklaces, jingle bell necklaces. So you could just see hundreds of light up necklaces. I said, look up. I said, there's a whole community of people that love you and support you and that you will never be alone. And the mom said, I'm just so sorry. And I said, no, it's okay. And then literally a 5-minute ordeal. This woman went from no hope at all, thinking that she was going to get kicked out of line and not get anything, to telling me Merry Christmas and pulling out on a rim. And then as she pulled out, her daughter says, Mom, stop. And this is the favorite part of my story. She looked over her mom. She said, did you say your name was Brandy? I said, I did. She's like, I want you to know that every Brandy I've ever met has been really nice. And I said, have you met a lot of us? And she's like, you're the second. And I said, well, all right. But it goes to show you what a little bit of kindness and compassion, because everybody I serve is somebody's son or daughter. And I think in this world where we want to throw blame around, that nobody wants their child to experience homelessness, nobody wants their child to experience addiction or mental health, but we have millions of people that do. And it's our job as a community to lift them up, not throw them away. And so that's what our Christmas celebration does. So we'd love to have you join us. There's information on there. I know it took a little bit of time, but again, like you said, it's good what we do. Every single day my team shows up and we get to do good because of the community. So thank you.
Thank you for what
Yes.
you do.
Yes, yes.
So how did the 800 families sign up?
They sign up online, and if they are referred from agency or whatnot, they put what agency it is, and we talk to the agency to make sure. And then we also check with Salvation Army. We just got the list from Salvation Army. We got the list from a foster care agency, Open Door Mission, and all of the families together throughout Western Iowa and Carter Lake. There's about 1,300 families signed up. We only had about 20 that double dipped. So that's a big misconception that people go from place to place, but there's only about 20 of them. And then we call them and say, you know, what agency one has them adopted out and say, don't do that again, because you might get taken off. So just be honest. But that shows you it's not even 1% that actually people double dip.
Randy, you almost bring tear to my eye.
Almost. I'll get you next time with the story. So when you come to visit me, Jeff, I'll get you.
And I will say this, you just reminded me of my time in the Marine Corps, and we did volunteer for Toys for Tots.
Yes.
And I was out in California at the time. And, you know, they're amazing, amazing.
Those Marines work nonstop for about 4 weeks of getting toys and getting them out and stuff like that. So it's not important.
A lot of companies chip in. You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Gotcha. Okay. Next up, discussion and or decision to award bids to replace the HVAC systems in 8 tower buildings. Ben, you guys were in here last week. We talked about it, and I saw you brought in or sent the bid back without tax.
Yep.
That's what we needed for that. So anybody got questions?
So that's the total now, Ben, is 124,680.
Yes, correct.
And it's 6 to 8 weeks then to get the stuff and put it in?
That's what they confirmed.
Okay, is this your recommendation then, Ben?
Yes.
I'll move that for you, Brian, and we'll take
Okay.
the 124,680 out of the board's budget.
I will second that.
Out of which budget?
Board's budget.
Yeah.
You don't have that in your budget, right, Ben?
No.
Could you repeat the amount,
Okay, got a
please?
motion,
Could you
pardon?
repeat the amount, please?
124,680.
got a motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks for doing that, Ben. Next up. This one's kept me awake at night. Public Safety Communications Task Force, discussion or decision to approve and authorize the board to sign Motorola Solutions Agreement with 3 options for consideration.
So since we presented this at the November 18th meeting, the board held a study session with Motorola last week on November 25th. And we received a revised quote, extending the pricing also to December 5th, 2025. So we appreciate that help from Motorola. During our study session, we added back in the microwave waveguide, the dish, and the dehydrator replacement. We all agreed that working with one vendor for the entire project is probably the best to go to avoid scheduling conflicts during the project and also to avoid finger pointing and delays if something isn't working right. There's advantage to working with one vendor. The Motorola contract provides for joining the ISIC statewide system. We're currently on Orion, and Orion has served us well and will continue to serve Pot County until the cutover to ISIC is made. and the timeline looks like 2 years out for that. The console upgrades in the 911 communications center and the EMA contingency site. So that's 9 for our comm center and 2 at EMA contingency. The infrastructure upgrade with the DVR repeater and the virtual prime, the antenna and line replacement, and then the microwave, waveguide dish and dehydrator replacement. Currently, our county has 15 to 20-year technology on our towers, and this will freshen all of this up. The timeline indicates a 2-year process for cutover to Essex, adding a tower on top of the courthouse and building a tower in Crescent, and a tower located adjacent to the Crescent water tower appears to be the best solution. Motorola pricing, if we did each of these components as an individual project, would cost over $20 million. And Motorola has offered a bundled pricing discount of $16,198,222 if we approve the purchase agreement by December 5th. One of the benefits of this upgrade is we will have a detailed inventory of 911 communications components, which will be maintained to assure timely updates, repairs, replacements, and warranties, starting with the HVAC systems for the existing tower sites that we just approved. We'll keep our hands, we'll have a list of those. We'll know when we need to refresh, when we need to upgrade, so it's not one big chunk to the taxpayers at one time. Once again, I would like to thank the task force members from across the county that provided research and input into this solution. Their expertise was critical to making the right decision for the residents of the county. In addition, Sam Arkfeld has been attending the Iowa Motorola Trunked User Group meetings, the Essex User Group, to stay atop of enhancement projects and system support matters. And I think that's a key piece that in this 2-year transition, we need to be heavily engaged with, just so that we know what's coming down and run systems parallel. Also, in the study session last week, financing was discussed with our chief financial officer and recommendations to fund from capital project funds and bonds. The project cost will be made in 4 installments over the next 2 years, and it's my understanding details will be ironed out during our budget discussions, unless Mitch, you wanted to add something at this point.
The only thing I would add is we'll probably go ahead and engage bond counsel now to get everything rolling so we can make sure we get our reimbursement dates set. So what will probably come forward to the public initially, maybe even the next few weeks, would be a not to exceed amount on a bond dollar amount. So we can at least get that public hearing and meeting and stuff scheduled and out of the way. So
That's a good idea. So I support the work of the task force and the conversion to the Iowa statewide interoperability system, which is ISIX, and I will make the motion to approve the Motorola Solutions contract in the amount of $16,198,222. Did I say right? That's a big one.
That's a big one. It's the biggest one I've ever been dealt with here. Okay, I need a second to approve.
I'll second that for you, Brian.
Okay,
Couple of questions, though.
go ahead.
I want to address this to Brett if I can. You know, I asked you about the master site licenses. Could you explain that again to me?
So the master site license, is licenses that need to be added to the core of the system. So right now, the core of the system, you guys operate as Alliance. And then we're moving to the ISIC. So for each site, there's licenses needed at the core and there's licenses also needed at each site. So right now, in the design you guys have today, we're going to be transferring the existing core licenses you have to ISIC, and you're adding 2 new sites. So you have to buy core licenses for those 2 new sites to be recognized at the ISIC system.
We're trying to make sure you don't double dip or pay twice. So you've already paid them once with Orion on those existing sites.
You do.
You paid them originally when you first got that equipment.
Douglas, are you talking Douglas County?
The licenses you'd have paid to Motorola.
But as part of the first project that you've been on for 15+ years, we're
Orion,
just trying, correct, we're trying to make sure that you're not repaying for those to go on to ISIX. We're transferring all of those existing sites over, and it's just the new tower, 2 tower bills that you would be purchasing to put on ISIX in addition.
okay.
Is there any ongoing cost for that?
One-time license fee.
So we have to buy a site license for you for the equipment.
Ultimately, the license is in the core that recognizes that this is a new site. If you don't have that license, the site doesn't exist. And the core is maintained and managed by the state of Iowa, ISIX. So it's, you buy the license up front to add the equipment to it, and then they handle and maintain everything from their end.
Who's they?
The state of Iowa, ISIX. I mean, it's a license in the systems, and then they manage the systems moving forward of the upgrades as needed, but it's no cost to you guys.
System administrators for ISIX are housed underneath the Department of Public Safety.
There's no cost outside the agreement then,
Correct.
right?
There's no perpetual cost. There's no ongoing subscription type of cost. It's the same thing you have today, whether through Douglas or with Orion. We're transferring basically call it 80% of that over, so you don't have to pay for it again. It's the 2 new sites that you're now having that one-time purchase through ISIX, through us with ISIX.
So who approves that site license then? Does this board do that?
No, I mean, you're approving it within this, in terms of paying for it within that. There's really no approval other than us working with our own core licenses and then working with ISIX on your behalf of having you basically join that system under their, that they're maintaining.
Okay. And then I know that this board hasn't really put together the final funding for this project. So we'll have another lively discussion when we get there.
Okay. Yeah. We're about the only ones on Orion in southwest Iowa. And one of the last in Iowa, are we not?
The only one in Iowa.
The only one on Orion.
So the only other county that was on another state system with Motorola was Muscatine County. And they were on the
Muscatine.
Starcom system on the other side of the border. Again, because ISIX was not around when they moved over. And since then, it was about 3 years ago, they came off of Starcom and came on to ISIX, leaving Pottawatomie County, the only Iowa county that was on a different state or regional system with Motorola. Thus that now, again, because ISIX wasn't available, now it is available. And you're kind of coming back into the fold.
So did you also authorize the chair to sign that agreement, Ms. Miller?
We have
Yes,
not-
I did.
Yeah, we have not taken the vote yet.
Would you roll call that for me? Right.
Sure. Mary Ann, would you do a roll call on this vote, please?
Yeah. You want me to read the motion over? Are we good?
As long as it authorizes the chairman to sign, I'm fine with it.
All right.
Notice to proceed. Yeah. Yep. Authorize the chairman to sign the notice to proceed. Should be part of that motion.
Right, okay. Chairman Shea,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Motion carried. That's
All right.
been a long slog. That's not an easy deal to pull a trigger on that big of a project. I appreciate everybody that was on that board or that commission. Cause it's, we know it's been coming. I think it's hard to spend that kind of taxpayer money, but paint it into a corner here, so. Okay, looks like we're moving ahead. Good deal, everyone. Thank you. Next up, David Bayer, Chief Information Officer, Information Technology, and Kate Gerber, Public Relations. Discussion of federal website accessibility deadline. You want to explain just a little?
Sure, of course.
Thanks, David.
So this is an FYI for the board. to help you understand what is required of our website. So our website we've had it for several years now, and the ADA has made a deadline of April 2026 for us to make our website accessible to those that have certain disabilities, whether that's vision impaired or hearing impaired or cognitive reasons. We have to make our website available to them. And what that really means is most of those types of people will use what are called screen readers to read the website to them. And you can all play around with that if you would like. Most browsers have a screen reader option built in. You can also buy third-party tools that allow you to read the sites. And before I go into greater detail on what we need to do, I'll talk about, or have Kate talk about, we actually brought in some students to help us understand how they view websites or how they get information off of our website. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as part of our kind of research and information gathering phase of this process, we connected with ISD and had students from, I want to get the full name correct, the Iowa Educational Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired, students from their 4+ program. So these are students who have already received their high school degree and are looking for ways to engage with things that would help them with employment and other kind of just life skills. Reached out and just wanted to see if they would be willing to look at our website and see what are some of the things that are working well for them with their screen readers. What are some of the things where they're finding some challenges or obstacles or what's not feeling accessible to them? Because there's the law and the regulation and the deadline, but then there's what does that actually look like for people in our community and how are they actually using our website? And their instructors and the individuals there actually took it to the next step and they turned it into a project that the students had to interview for. And so they went through a mock, well, not really a mock interview, it was a true interview for this process. They selected 4 of the students to help evaluate the website. And then they came into the courthouse and did a full presentation to the web committee. And it was so just engaging and just really helpful and insightful, the work that they did. And they took it very seriously. They spent many hours going through the various department pages. We have a massive website when you factor in 20 different departments and all of the sub levels that happen under each of those sections. And they really tried to evaluate things from all different angles. And so it gave us a full presentation of a website evaluation. And we've also talked with them about ways that we can continue to engage in the future because they really valued having that kind of more real world professional experience. So that was kind of one of the steps that we've gone through to get up to this point. So now I'll pass it back to David.
So what's the work? The work is twofold. We have to make the website, the actual pages that you see, make those accessible. And we also have to edit or make sure the PDFs are accessible. Neapolitan Labs, our web vendor, web developer, they will provide us some tools to make the web part accessible. But what that actually means is, for example, as you're scrolling through a website, you see an image. An image has text that sits behind that, describing what that image is. So the reader, the screen reader that's reading the web page to you, when it gets to the image, it says what the picture is. And we don't have a way to do that editing right now. So Neapolitan Labs is building us a tool to let us do that. The other half, probably the lion's share, is the PDFs. We have hundreds and hundreds of PDFs on our website. Everything from board minutes to county code to forms to all sorts of things on our website, hundreds and hundreds of forms. And so we have roughly 45 or 50 subject matter experts. Each department maintains their own page. It's not the IT department, it's not Kate's. Every department has 2 or 3 people that are assigned to edit their, so they need to go in and look at their PDFs to see if those PDFs are accessible or not. We've given them some how-to documents on what they can look at to make sure that those PDFs are accessible. Adobe software has tools built in to make those things possible. The long and short of it, we have until April to make our website and our PDFs accessible for those that need that. So we're in the process of getting that done. I sent an email out to all the subject matter experts with all the details yesterday, how they can get trained or get help and move forward there. The only costs potential here is really time. Time is the big cost. It's gonna be some effort to make sure all these documents and websites are accessible. We might need to be buying a checker of some sorts to check to make sure we're doing the work properly. I think I can handle that within my own budget. Neapolitan Labs might be converting some web forms, a PDF form to a web form, which might be a few bucks here and there. But again, that's part of the IT budget. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of costs other than time. And the time is reviewing the PDFs, looking them over. Are they accessible or not based on the criteria that we've sent them? And then, doing the work of it. So that's the kind of the high level. The risk to us if we don't do anything is certainly reputational damage if we don't follow through. Potential loss of federal funding, maybe there's some civil penalties, and we could be open to lawsuits possibly if we didn't do this work.
David, do you feel there's enough time for you to get it done? Do you feel
Um,
comfortable?
I think it depends on the department. For example, a small department like the Board of Supervisors has really one employee maintaining the website, and you guys have a lot of PDFs, lots and lots and lots, every minute, all these board minutes and the packets, those are all online. And that's one person doing all that work, whereas IT, we have 0 PDFs online and a department of 10. So it just depends on, so we might have to do some sharing of time and effort, I think, to get this figured out.
Okay.
I don't know if I can 100% answer the question. I also don't know if April's deadline is a real deadline. For example, there's no one saying, if you don't do this by then, this will happen. I think as long as we're showing our good faith effort and we're doing a good job and we're making headway and we're getting close, and we'll probably be fine. But also we do want to meet federal deadlines.
This is federal regulation.
It's a ADA, is the federal agency that's managing this.
Surprised that Neapolitan Labs is behind. I mean, they serve lots of county governments, and I would think that they would have been rolling out a big solution for everyone.
One thing to note as far as the deadline is concerned is we are subject to the deadline of April 2026 because of our size. For smaller entities, they have another year, so they have until April 2027. I don't disagree though that we don't want to be behind with this, but that is one of the reasons why we're on the shorter deadline is because we're over 50,000.
I believe 50,000 was the number for us.
Questions, comments? Well, good luck. I hope everything works right. Thanks for coming in and updating us.
Of course, and we'll send out updates periodically as well.
Okay.
Very good.
I want
Look
to,
in your work.
dive into this more. To see it from all angles, so.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. We don't need any action, so. Okay, next up, discussion under decision regarding December 30th board meeting, including consideration to just meet on January 2nd for the week. I guess I feel like if we need to be here on the 30th, we should, or even move it to the 29th, is what I was thinking. Comments?
Well, I was thinking that we could help our department heads figure out the agenda for the next 3 weeks in December so that there wouldn't be any board action required on the 30th. We are required to meet on the first day of the new year, so we would have to meet on January 2nd anyway.
Which is that Friday.
Right. And I just think we could plan accordingly not to have any agenda items for December 30th and just have one meeting that week. So I will make a motion to approve canceling the December 30th, 2025 meeting and moving that that business to the regular weekly meeting on January 2nd, 2026.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second to approve this January 2nd meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? January 2nd it is.
Need our communications person.
Okay. Committee appointments. Last week was Thanksgiving.
Sarah Beckstrom and Andrew Wolf. Keep those two in mind. They are the West Virginia National Guards personnel that were shot in DC. Sarah has passed away. I understand that Mr. Wolf is recovering slowly, so just be very mindful of what happened that day, so. Yeah.
I had very few meetings last week and I was down at Wabash and Pioneer Trail just to see that mess down there. There was a wreck down there. We're trying everything we can. Thank you, Andy, and all your efforts for that. Okay. Susan?
I enjoyed the Thanksgiving holiday and didn't have any meetings last week. I did want to tell Mitch, thanks for sending out that opioid settlement annual report that was due yesterday. Thank you.
Tim, anything?
No.
Okay. Okay, public comments? None? Wow. Okay. Next up, we got Kristen Bracker, attorney, and Trish Barnhart, jail administrator, closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.5, parent 1, parent G for jail administrator matters.
I'll make the motion. We go into closed session.
I'll second that.
Okay? You do a roll call, please?
Chairman
Marianne?
Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Rickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Jordan.